In this video, we look at how to knit stripes in different colours in rows. Stay with me and I'll show you how. Here is a garter stitch with several colours. I've knitted stripes of various sizes, some in 4 rows, some in 2. In garter stitch, a stripe always consists of an even number of rows. Here it is from the front and the back. We can see from the back we have these pearl dash lines. This is why we knit stripes in an even number of rows, so that the pearl dash line stays on the back and not on the front. There are stripes knitted in stocking stitch, and from the back we can see we still have the pearl dash lines. But unlike garter stitch, we can knit stripes with an uneven number of rows. On this piece I have stripes of single rows, a stripe of 3 rows. That's because with stocking stitch the pearl dash line is always on the back. There are a couple of ways we can do this when working with several colours. We can either cut our yarn at the end of each colour change and weave the ends in, or we can carry our yarn up to the next row. So let's get started. For this demonstration I will be using garter stitch. I've cast on 15 stitches and I've knitted 4 rows. Now we're going to add in our second colour. We take our needle and we come through our first stitch knitwise, but instead of yarning over with the colour we've been using, we're going to add our new yarn. We let our first colour hang out there. We bring in our second colour and we just make a loop. We don't need to tie any knots or anything. And we place that loop over our left hand needle and knit the first stitch. Pull the yarn snug. And we carry on along the row, knitting with our new colour. And because this pattern is a 2-row repeat, we knit back across. Now we can continue knitting this stripe, or we can change colour again. I'm going to change colour again. We let our second colour hang out. We come through the first stitch, pick up our first colour, and we knit 2 rows. We can carry on doing 2-row stripes, picking up the new yarn at the end of each 2-row repeat. But what if we want to do wider stripes of 4 rows or more? We don't want to have a long thread hanging up the side, so we're going to have to carry the yarn. To do that, we take our working colour, we wrap it under and around the other colour, and that will bring the yarn up to the level of the next row, and we knit 2 more rows. And when we're ready to change colours again, our yarn is there. We pick up our new yarn and knit 2 rows. And we're going to continue in the same colour, so we want to carry our yarn. We take our working yarn and we come under and around the other yarn, and we continue knitting for 2 more rows. Now we've done a few rows, we can see along the back where our yarn has been carried. And here it is from the front. The carried yarn is hidden around the back. This can also work with 3 colours. I'm going to add in this black. Come through the first stitch, make a loop with the new yarn, slip it over the needle and pull it through. Pull the old and new yarn snug and knit for 2 rows. And we want to continue with the black, so we come in front of the other 2 yarns, underneath and around, and we knit 2 rows. I'm going to continue with the blue. I go in front of the other 2 colours, underneath and around, bringing up the yarn, and knit 2 rows. And each time we change colours, pick up both the other colours and knit 2 rows. Carrying the yarn works fine for up to 3 colours, but once you introduce 4 or more colours, the yarn carried along the side will become very bulky. If you're using multiple colours of more than 3, I would suggest snipping the yarn at the end of each colour change and weaving in the ends. And that's how to knit stripes of different colours.